everybody, it's Lee from Nintendo Review with Nintendo Review's 9th podcast. We are missing Darren this week due to, well, he said it was due to work, but what do you think, Greg?
I'll let him off with that. I'd say he's probably working. He's probably busy at the minute.
He's a busy man. Good.
Yeah.
I'm taking over the beginning of the hosting abilities, and Greg will be finishing off when we do an N64 retrospective. Now, let's start with the news. Bandai Namco has provided an update on their Dark Souls Remastered, because that's been coming out for quite some time. It's been delayed for a hell of a long time. And they've also had an update on their Slayer of Astora amiibo, and they're both coming out on October 19th. Are you looking forward to this, Greg?
It's one of those games where I kind of interested in trying it out because of people say about how difficult it is, and there seems to be quite a lot of people that really loved it back on the PS3.
Yeah.
But they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a wee bit because obviously they delayed the Switch version
for 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months. So they're already sort of like shot themselves in the foot that way, but they've also announced that there's a Dark Souls trilogy coming to the Xbox and PS4 the same day.
Exactly the same day, the full trilogy. This is sounding a lot like what EA pulled on the Wii U with the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah, almost exactly the same, but like you sort of also wonder what the PS4 and Xbox players are thinking as well, because they've just bought the Dark Souls remasters and now there's a trilogy coming out, so if they knew that was coming they would probably just await it, so they probably annoyed that fan base as well.
Yeah, do you think that will scupper the aspects of sales on the PS4 as well then?
It might a little bit. I mean, I would say there's probably a lot of fans for Dark Souls 2 and 3 that are just delighted that they're getting the trilogy, but I think the Switch version's really, really going to struggle now.
Yes, definitely. If there's a trilogy released on the Switch in the future, would you pick that up? Mm-hmm. Or would you? Are you put off in any way from getting the original one because there's a trilogy on the other versions?
I've got to be honest, I don't expect a trilogy to come to the Switch. I think the third game, probably in particular, is probably a lot more demanding than the other two. I don't think we'll get the trilogy at all, to be honest, and I think the sales of the original remastered will not be good enough to warrant them to bring the other ones over.
Even the second one, I completely agree.
Yeah.
More news. Diablo 3 Eternal Collection has been announced for Switch. We don't have a date yet, but on Amazon they got it down for the 21st of December. And that's just a placeholder, so we still don't know when it's coming out. But it's Diablo 3 MOBA type of game, and the kind of bonus with the Nintendo focused game is that Ganondorf from Zelda will be a playable barbarian, and it's looking great. It's running at 720p in handheld, 960 when it's docked, all at 60 frames per second. We've seen some off-screen undocked footage from IGN, which is looking excellent. Are you interested in this one?
No, not really. It's just one of those games I've never really liked the look of it. Not really digging the vibes or anything, so I don't know if it can come out 21st of December if it wants. I don't imagine I'll be picking it up for Christmas.
I'm quite interested in this type of game where I can sit down with my son and we can slowly do bits and pieces, 30 minutes at a time, crack on with a few levels. I do like the look of this. I think maybe another release coming in September is Arena of Valor, AOV, and that's a free-to-play game. It's a free-to-start game anyway, whereas Diablo's going to be rather on the high end of pricing strategy, I should imagine. Keep our eyes on that one anyway, but it's looking rather positive for me, but not for you, yes?
Well, it's good to see more support coming. You can't really complain about that. It's just one of them things. It's not really a game for me, I don't think.
And Nintendo have also teamed up with Walmart, which is obviously in America. You get Walmart in Northern Ireland?
No Walmart here.
So you won't be buying the new exclusive bundle on September the 5th, which has the Switch, digital download codes then for Mario Tennis Aces, and a digital code for 1-2 Switch. What interested me in this news is that it looks like Nintendo are willing to do more and more bundles, especially that September 5th is a month away from that kind of Black Friday big sales in America. Do you expect Nintendo to do more bundles based on European models
You would assume so. Like
for this Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, like quite often over here we would get like you get your PS4 or Xbox bundles on with like FIFA or something. I'm not sure if EA and Nintendo are friendly enough to have some sort of like FIFA 19 Switch bundle, but I think that would probably sell pretty well over here. But I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do like a Mario Tennis and 1-2 Switch one over here, or like a Splatoon bundle or something.
See, I'm stuck over in Taiwan, and I don't know what's happening in the shops, retail shops in England, or Northern Ireland for that matter. Do they have any bundles? Mario Kart 8 bundle, Super Mario Odyssey bundle yet?
I'm pretty sure they released like the Mario Odyssey Switch, didn't they? Did that come? That must have come with the game.
That came with
the
red Joy-Cons. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think there actually was a Splatoon bundle as well.
Okay.
But like you talk about the shops, like to be honest, I'm never in it. We've only really got like a game over here now, and overcharged in there. It's not worth going into at all. I was supposed to get Smiths as well, but I'm hardly ever in. Like I do all my shopping online pretty much.
Yeah, same here. One day I'll talk about the kind of Taiwan game scene, which is rather muted compared to even England, and the kind of shops we have over here are just the kind of local, small, single business kind of shops, very small. There's no kind of chain going on here at all. Next one, Japanese magazine Nintendo Dream. They've had an interview with Sega Ages, which is an ongoing 15 games in current development about re-released and unre-released Sega games that are coming to the Switch. And they had an interview with the lead producer and director Reiko Kodama and the supervisor Yosuke Ukinara. And they have basically reconfirmed all this information. We'll get 1 and 2 games a month. They've teased some new features. They teased them. They didn't say what they were. But there are more than 15 games in development. Some of those are unre-released. This is the first time we'll see them on a Nintendo system for sure. Does this tickle your fancy?
In some ways, yes. I picked up quite a few of the 3D versions on the 3DS.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I got like Sonic 1 and 2 and like the Streets of Rage games and Gunstar Heroes and those sorts of things. I usually buy Streets of Rage whatever platform it's on, because it's one of those games just easy just to pick up and play for like half an hour with your friends, just a local co-op. It's perfect. Love the music in them. It will be interesting to see if we get those games that we've never seen before.
What do you think they could be? I have not been a Sega fan, always been a Nintendo fan. I wouldn't even have a clue what like Sonic Spinball. Surely that's come out before.
Right enough, now that you mention that, I have no idea what we could get. I suppose it's like when you think back to the Sega classics, you sort of think back to like the Mega Drive games, but like we've never seen stuff like Jet Set Radio from the Dreamcast on like a Nintendo platform.
You're thinking bigger.
Or like, so or even some of those Saturn games as well.
Yeah, Power Stone.
Yeah, or like Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally love those Streets of Rage games, and I had the 3D versions of them as well. If I'm sure I'd pick them up straight away if they came on the Switch again.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be perfect for you and your son to play through.
Yeah. Especially as we loved the most recent Wolverblade, which kind of emulated those classic 2D scrolling fighting games. Yeah, it'd be a nice one to play.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a genre that I probably like. I've seen like a few games sort of come out in that sort of style, and I'm not really interested in picking them up. It's like they sort of came out in that era and it was perfect. You were playing, you were growing up, and you just having great times with your friends now, and just as you're older it's like maybe just not as interesting anymore, but I still love to go back and play those old games that I loved like as a kid.
They're one of those types of games that you need to sit down with somebody and do it buddy co-op style. It needs that local couch co-op, otherwise you do lose a lot of the fun. Jacob can't grow up fast enough, huh?
If he's not into games, then we're in trouble.
Next was a huge surprise, which was the Indie Highlights Direct. It just came out of nowhere, and there was list after list of indie games, dates, and I could mention a few of them. I would mention the ones that are out now, so you can pop in the shop and buy them, like Morphe's Law, Bad North, which I'm quite looking forward to, I'm at least interested in, and Prison Architect, Nintendo Switch Edition. The other games which kind of light my fuse were Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, That is looking so bright and colourful, coming on the 6th of November.
Yeah.
Moonlighter from 11-Bit Studios is an action RPG. Your favourite element of roguelike stuff?
I was just gonna say, like, as I was watching the wee mini direct or whatever it is, I know there's probably like in terms of like manpower and like costs and stuff, there's reasons for it, but like the amount of times I see like 8-bit and 16-bit roguelike, whatever it is, I'm so sick of that style now.
Really?
Anytime I see a game, it's like I'm almost immediately put off it.
So there's Everspace, Stellar Edition from Rockface Games. It says fast-paced single-player space shooter, which is coming in December. Now this interests me a lot. You know, it's got elements of Star Fox. It looks a bit darker than that. You got to hunt down bounty hunters, and you are a bounty hunter, take people out. This is far more stretched away from that kind of 8-bit and 16-bit game, but there are roguelike elements. So does this kind of float your boat, Greg?
Once again, I'm probably going to have to say no, but like you called it a fast-paced single-player space shooter. Like my memory must be playing tricks on me, because I don't remember seeing anything fast-paced in it.
Oh dear.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that. Everything that I seen that my memories tell me was like it looked really slow and like boring, and like I put no real interest in sci-fi stuff like generally. It didn't look interesting at all to me. I'm going to have to go back and look at it again, obviously. But
well, the fast pace doesn't actually come from me. Now that you're saying it, when you look at the way the ships are following each other, it does look rather pedestrian. But the fast-paced single-player shooter, space shooter, comes from their official blurb, their PR paper. So, maybe they're lying to us, Greg.
I think if the last couple of weeks with the whole IGN controversy has taught us anything, it's that you maybe don't have to believe everything you read.
That's quite true. So, out of all this Indies Highlights Direct, I know there was a lot of 8-bit and 16-bit games. Is there anything that did catch your eye?
Well, you already mentioned the Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom game. It actually looked like quite jolly and fun.
Yeah.
So I'll be keeping a wee eye on that. But there's also Windjammers. I remember thinking about picking it up on the PS4 because I'd never played it before, but it's got a wee bit of a fan following, and I think I probably will pick it up. Like if it has online and stuff on the Switch, I think probably will pick it up and play it. But then of course they announced Windjammers 2 in the exact same, like just directly after it, so I don't know how that's going to differ exactly.
Windjammers comes out at the end of October, and then we go Windjammers 2, they do say 2019, so it could be later in, at the end of 2019. You could have a full year out of the first Windjammers, but yeah, it is a little bit off-putting.
I guess so, because you sort of wonder what sort of improvements they might make to it, or like I don't even know how they can improve it, because like I say, I've never played it before, so I don't really know how it plays. But like if a lot of people love it already, and like I say, if it's got online play and stuff, like that could be a really fun game to play like towards Christmas time, maybe when you've got like family around or whatever. Yeah,
cool. As for your general thoughts of the indie highlights, mine were after going on to Discord and seeing the rather negative kind of feedback from most people saying, there was nothing much there for me. I was more upbeat after this one. Morphe's Law looks nice. I probably won't pick it up after playing Paladins. And then Bad North, I probably will pick that up. And there's about 6 or 7 games that I find rather interesting down here. So how about you, Greg? How many out of the maybe 15 games that were shown?
Maybe
Here we go.
A couple. Like you see, like ever since like the Wii and stuff, and we had all like the WiiWare titles and stuff, it was always like the virtual console games that kind of interested me more. Like I never really got on board with like indie titles and stuff. It's only really been actually with the Switch that I've started picking up 1 or 2 here and there, and like I've been like pleasantly surprised by a few of them, to be honest. But through this list here, this War of Mine was probably one of the ones that caught my eye, and it obviously Windjammers and Monster Boy. That's maybe about it, to be honest. Morphe's Law, like the concept of it sounds fun, but I wasn't really digging the look of it, and I'm not sure if it'll be executed as well as we maybe want it to be.
Have you tried Paladins?
No, I haven't tried Paladins yet.
I played it for about 2.5 hours. I only meant to play it for about 10 minutes. I thought, let me have a quick go, see what the buzz is. And I couldn't put it down, to be honest. It was only one session, 2.5 hours on a Saturday night, late evening. And it's great stuff. It's really fast-paced. It's completely different to Fortnite. So it's a smaller maps. And so you're right back in on the action, and it's got a kind of respawn situation like in Splatoon, and the heroes that you can choose from the free edition anyway are varied. So each one obviously has their weaknesses and potential pitfalls, and other ones have their strengths, and it really ran smoothly, fun, and I held my own as well. The only thing it was lacking was motion controls. There was no motion aiming, so you had to rely on your accuracy with the C stick, the R stick rather.
Well, Darren's been kind of positive about it as well, especially in comparison to Fortnite. So with it being free and stuff, like, there's no reason why I shouldn't download it and at least give it a try anyway.
I'd recommend you did. It is a hefty download. It's like over 6 gigabytes.
Oh, I've still got a wee bit of room left.
Good. So that's the news for Indie Highlights. After the Indie Highlights, there's been a little bit of news trickling out from the Gamescom event. Now, the first little news, before the Gamescom event even, is the Arcade Archives. Do you own any of those games? There's the Arcade Archives Mario, Arcade Archives Donkey Kong, and all the other ones like Metal Slug and...
As weird as it sounds, like, I haven't purchased any of them yet.
Neither have I.
Part of that is down to the actual branding of them. Like, I don't like the way the icons are, like, they've got the branding across the icons. Oh,
and that kind of the border around the sides.
It's such a silly reason not to pick anything up, but I'm sure I probably will sometime. Like, there'll be a game that I have to buy it, you know.
Oh, here we go then. This is the next one. Is this the game for you, Greg? Hamster are going to bring the Arcade Archives of Versus Excitebike to Switch this fall. Now, that's in Japan, but obviously it'll follow through to Europe soon. You like Excitebike? NES Classic?
You know how I love those NES games. As far as my love for Excitebike goes, Excitebike 64 was the first one I played. Absolutely adore it. Obviously, it's quite different to the other ones. But the WiiWare title, Excitebike World Challenge, I think it was called, it was absolutely fantastic as well. But I never really got on with the original one, and
the one on the WiiWare, did it have make your own map, or did it have online play? I can't remember what it did have.
Yes, it had online play, and I'm pretty sure you could design your own levels as well.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever bothered with that. The issue with me with that game was a lot of the unlockable like the designs for the bikes and stuff. It was all tied into like playing a certain amount of games online. And obviously the online infrastructure is now gone.
Yeah.
So like there's no way of unlocking that stuff now. So I've got all like the S ranks and stuff for all the levels. So there's nothing really left for me to do in it.
And the Arcade Archives versus Excitebike is going to be obviously the previous version, which will omit all these wonderful new online bits and pieces as well, unfortunately. So it's a no for me as well.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, unfortunate for Hamster. Unfortunate for their pig-ugly icons. Gamescom, yeah, bits and pieces have been trickling out from here, and there's been some strange games announced, but they've also announced the winners of their awards, and their awards are rather strange as well. But Nintendo did take home 2 awards, one in the best Nintendo Switch game, surprisingly enough, which was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But they also took home the best family game, Super Mario Party. Any surprises there, Greg?
Not really, but family game. But it's good to see like Super Mario Party win an award at least, because sort of at least gives a hint that it might be actually pretty decent this time.
Yeah, getting it back on track. Yeah, we'll find out soon. Yeah. October 5th, that's coming out.
Oh, I thought it was actually later in October. That's good. I have it pre-ordered actually. So
yeah, and it's one of those games I just found out today as well. Is that if you pre-order on the eShop, it's only got a 2.7 gigabyte download. You'll get double points, double gold coins for your pre-order. So
I did see that as well. But I have it pre-ordered physically, and it's still considerably cheaper.
I bet it is. Because you'll only save about £2.50.
Yeah.
So these strange games I said that came out. There's this game that I've never played. I've heard lots about in a kind of GTA way that it's absolutely crazy. Saints Row the Third is coming to Switch. They have no date or anything, but this is the first time that a Saints Row franchise will appear on a Nintendo system. I don't know if you remember that Saints Row Drive-By was announced for the 3DS years ago, but it just disappeared. It never shown up. It just went by the wayside. Saints Row, the kind of GTA beta for you, Greg?
Absolutely no idea. I've never played any of them. Is the third the most recent one, or has there been more since then? I'm nearly sure there was a Saints Row 4 as well, wasn't there?
Oh, you've got me there as well. So our Saints Row knowledge is rather lacking.
Yeah. I'm nearly sure. I think my brother might actually have Saints Row the Third, but I've never seen him play it.
That good, eh?
I've never touched it, so I don't know. I've never really been into the Grand Theft Auto games that much anyway, so...
If Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on Switch, would you pick that up?
Probably, yes.
I'm pretty much in the same camp, I think. If Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, all the talk and the way it sells, and it's got to be something special, so I'd pick that up. But Saints Row 3rd, that's what I mean, but it's a rather strange one. Anyway,
another no buy.
Hey, we're doing particularly well today, Greg.
Yeah.
And the last piece of news is this little gossip came out, and on our Discord channel as well, people are saying, hey, I know what it is, don't get your hopes up, but something small but cool will come, and we all had these ideas that it might be something to do with the Nintendo Switch's OS, and then they revealed it. It's a subscription-based reading comic book application, so a manga application. Obviously you have to subscribe to it, download, subscribe, and it's called Inky Pen, and it's coming in November. Are you a big comic book reader, Greg?
Every question you ask, do you expect me to say yes or no? To be honest, like, whenever people find out here that you like games and stuff, like, they almost always tie with like you're a nerd. You obviously like, oh, that means you'll like comic books and like superhero films and stuff. I don't really like either of those. The last comic I actually read was the Beano when I was younger.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
But yeah, that's the last thing the only comic book I ever read. No real interest in like superheroes or any of these like comic book characters, and so like this app is no use to me whatsoever.
If you asked me a few years ago, it would have been exactly the same answer as you yourself, but in more recent times with the TV show, and then I've been reading The Walking Dead, and that got me into some of Robert Kirkman's other comics, like Invincible, which starts off good. It's kind of petered off from my mind. I think I'm on about book number 63 or something now. I still need to carry on reading that. But I have an ebook which lets me read them all anyway. So do I need Inky Pen? Do I need to pay for the few comic books I actually do read? No chance. But it's good for someone. It's good for those people that that people do tar with, that kind of comic book geek, and they own a Switch.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye, Inky Pen. You're another one off the...
Nintendo aren't getting much money off us this week.
Nope. And that's the news. Thank you for staying with us. We're going on to what you've been playing. So, Greg, we'll start with you first. I've been chatting away about the news. What have you been playing this week?
Well, recently I picked up WarioWare Gold after talking about the demo a few weeks ago. So I'm in a wee bit of a Wario mood at the minute. I've played it a wee bit, but not enough to be able to expand on the impressions I gave of the demo. But the reason I hadn't really played it that much was because I was still finishing off with Severed, which I did manage to finish off the same day as we finished recording last week. And came away still really positive about that game. Really enjoyed it. The last boss was good fun. But what I've been playing since then has been Wario Land 4 on the Game Boy Advance. Partly because we sort of talked about the 3DS Ambassador games last week. But it's one of those games that, like, anytime I tried to play it, I just never really get into it. It was like it's like a different style of platforming game to the ones I normally go for, like your Super Mario games or your Donkey Kong games. It's less, well, it is about getting sort of from start to finish, although like you go to the end of a level and then like you hit a button and have to like run back to the start of a level, like a timer starts going down. So in that way it's different, but you have to collect stuff in the levels as well. There's like there's these treasure boxes you have to get. There's 4 in each level. Collect all of those in each level to unlock the boss door at the end of the stage, but you also have to collect a key in each level, which unlocks the door to the next level. So when I started playing it, I wasn't really feeling it. It was like, it's one of those games that I kind of felt like I was wanting just to rush through it, just almost just to say that I'd beat it, just to get it off the backlog, just to forget about it. So when I was going through these levels and I was like, I was missing like some treasure, or like I forgot to grab the key or whatever, I was sort of like, oh, frustrating, have to go back through this level again.
Yeah.
But the more I played it, like the more it kind of grew on me. Like it's like, if you're going to ask me what my top 10 platformers are of all time or whatever, it's not going to get anywhere near like that sort of list. But like the graphics are nice, the music's cool, and it did kind of grow me, and like my impatience kind of like subsided a wee bit as I was going through, and I was actually like taking my time to go through the levels and like searching for the wee secrets and stuff. There's wee CDs and stuff you can collect that unlocks wee things. You know the way in the Wario games generally, like WarioWare, whatever, you always have these like silly things like wee alarm clocks or whatever. Like the wee CDs might have something like the sound of like a fly buzzing around or something.
Cool.
I didn't collect all of them, but they're there anyway if you want something extra to collect. But yeah, I would say it's a good game, and it probably is worth playing. I'm not sure if I would ever go back to it again. My history with the Wario Land series, like it didn't start until the Wii actually. It was Wario Land the Shack Dimension. That's the first one I ever played, and once again, like I thought it was decent, but it probably wasn't up there with like the top tier platformers that I was accustomed to.
And that is one of the type of that Shake Dimension. That's one that people say is the pinnacle of WarioWare's 2D efforts.
I'm not sure if everyone says that, but no, I did like it, and like after playing this here, I kind of feel encouraged to go back to it, because when I played it, I know there was all these other like objectives and things to do in it, which I never really bothered with, but it might be worth going back to check it out now, because I haven't played it since it launched. But the only other Wario Land game I've played in that time is the original Game Boy one, and I remember people sort of raving about it as well. And because I was such like a huge fan of Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins,
Yeah.
like I picked this game up because I think it was discounted on the My Nintendo program at one point, so I got it really cheap. I didn't really like it anywhere near as much as Mario Land, so it's just one of those things. The Wario Land games, I can see why people like them. Even with Wario Land 4, I can see why it gets like such high praise, and like there are a lot of people really, really love that game, but I don't think that series is for me particularly, although it was decent, I'll say that.
I played it. I know I played it. But when you showed me the end titles, the end title screen, when you say, hey, I beat it on Twitter, I have no recollection of that. So there's a potential that, and I'm trying to think about how the last button, what bosses were. I can't remember. I remember very little from this game. So I don't think I finished it. I think that's another one I've got to go back to and finish as well now.
Yeah, it's always an interesting one, because when you sort of think back to like your favourite games ever, or like games that you absolutely loved growing up or whatever, you can like almost remember every minute detail of things that happened. When you sort of look back on those sorts of things and you don't really remember like boss fights or whatever, if it hasn't really stuck with you, did you really enjoy it that much? Like, it's tough to know. As
far as I can remember, I blatantly remember collecting, the key and getting another boss and blah, blah, and I can't think that I didn't like it, but obviously it didn't stick with me if I didn't finish it. That was the GBA version on the 3DS as well. So yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
I'm not like I wouldn't say that's like a complete general rule that encompasses everything, because like I'm sure there's plenty of games that I've absolutely adored that I can't remember specific details about as well. I'm not sure if this one will really stick with me either.
I think it's an age issue with me. As I'm getting older, I'm remembering less and less from my games.
Yeah, it's one of them things, like you might be playing a game and like you maybe miss playing it for like a couple of weeks, and then you go back to it and you can't remember the last thing you did in it, but a game you played when you were like 8, yeah, you can remember where all the wee secrets are and stuff. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah, you kind of trigger finger on the jump button on Mario. It just can't go wrong, can it?
But yeah, that's Wario 4 anyway. What have you been playing?
Before I even say which game I've been playing, I need to apologise. I've been playing a little bit of Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker on Switch, and I've been playing it in co-op mode again with my son, and I really gave them a hard time over the control scheme, saying that one player could move Toad about and the second player moves the camera, and I didn't like that for obvious issues. It's not quite true. There's nothing in the manual. When you pause the game, it doesn't tell you that you can press on your little Joy-Con the B button and hold it down. Obviously when you're pressing it, then Captain Toad stops, so you can only do it when he's stationary. But then the first player has control over the camera, and full control. It's a little bit finicky, where you have to stop, press the B button, then move it around. You can't move and change the camera at the same time. If you're in the heat of someone chasing you like a Shy Guy, then it's too finicky to stop and do it. But the option is there, so it's getting slightly better. And I finished the second book.
Very good. I guess a game I kind of need to get back to again. Like sort of, as you can tell, I've sort of been focused on the 3DS a wee bit recently.
So the game I'm going to talk about is the Banner Saga Part 3. Banner Saga 3. I reviewed the first Banner Saga on our website, nintendoreview.co.uk, and have now reviewed the third part of the saga. I haven't played the middle part, the second part. It is a trilogy. It flows from one to the other. The story goes through. Any character that died in the first one or the second one won't appear in the third one. So when you turn it on and start the game, it automatically checks to see if you've got the save file from the second Banner Saga, which I don't. So then you're forced into choosing one of two characters. Which one do you want to live? Which one do you want to die? Which is basically the last choice, multiple choice decision in the end of the first game, which made me kind of think, well, I obviously haven't missed out much from the second game if I'm making the choice from the first game. So what was also nice is that there's like a 3-minute recap section which will quickly recap the first and second parts of it. And it was right. You watch that recap, nothing much happened. They did a bit more walking, they did a bit more fighting. They got to they got to where you are in this game. And it's exactly the same as the first. You know, there's not much different from what happened in the first game and the second game. There are story elements which make it different, but the actual game itself is identical. That could be good in some aspects, like the story's strong, the story's dark, it's foreboding, and it's good in that kind of sense. But it's bad in the kind of where you should be good in the tactical strategy elements. It's rather poor, clunky, and everything I talked about before, all those issues all come back, haunt the game. You know, it really drags it down for me. And as I was reviewing it, I know I shouldn't do this, but I flew through the game. People have said it's another 20-hour beaut of a game. I finished it in 8 hours. So I flew through the game, which made it more frustrating. These clunky elements, and I've moved my character 1 square to the left too much, and now I can't undo it. On the plus side, it's the story. Why is it different from the first one? Well, in the first one, you've got this 3 groups of survivors, and they are basically telling 3 stories, and you're moving away from this enemy called the Dredge. And it's about this huge landscape, and it's about traversing this landscape and keeping the people in your group alive for as long as possible. Well, this story is more about it's like a zombie movie, you know. It's like a claustrophobic feeling. You've got this evil darkness which is devouring everything. So if anybody goes into the darkness, they'll get turned into this kind of zombie, purple, zombie-eyed, glowing-eyed thing. So this is encroaching on the last safe haven, a place called Aberrang. While this is going on, there's a second story which is running concurrently of a group of magicians and a few other people. They have created a magic bubble so they're safe in the darkness, and they are going to the location where they can stop this once and for all. It's a nice story, you know. It's a little bit transparent in places, not much gets the whole story gets concluded, but there's not much death as there was in the first one, which made the first one feel a bit more Game of Thrones. This felt like the end of a cartoon, you know. It's all going to come out all right in the end, and it did. And that's it basically. It's, you know, apart from the clunky navigation in the tactical strategy, everything else is great. But because of the clunky tactical strategy, it makes it so difficult to recommend. There's so many tactical strategy games which do things 25 times better than this.
Yeah, that's disappointing, because obviously you have mentioned all those criticisms from the first game.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're still present in the third game. I don't know, is there any way that, like, would somebody appreciate those elements?
I suppose, like,
way?
You know, a tactical strategy lover, you know, a really deep tactical strategy player would get something more out of it. But, you know, after playing like Fire Emblem Awakening, which has just streamlined everything, I just want to play that. I just want to, or you know, use those kind of elements in there so I can strategize better and quicker. Don't make me fumble around for hours just doing things. And there's one other thing as well, Greg, is that they've added a new element which makes it even more frustrating. It's called wave enemies. And all that means is that instead of having one fight in one place, you basically have a fight, then it says, oh, you won that fight, well done. Do you want to continue with another wave? Okay, another wave comes. You can change your allies out because you've got a huge team and you can only put about 8 in one go. So you can choose those out, change them out and swap them over so you've got a healthy set again. But these waves can go, I think 4 is the most. And I'm at the same location. I'm doing 4 waves just to get an extra special bonus buff at the end of it. And it just feels like filler. You know, it feels like I could have finished this game in 3.5 hours. But you're just adding these wave after wave of enemies. On the plus side is that you can always decline those waves. You got, don't want one. I'm just going to carry on the story. But then you don't get the strong buffs and you're missing out on something. Yeah, another annoyance to an already annoying tactical strategy. Okay.
Well, I'm going to surprise everyone by saying I'm not buying it.
Do you like tactical strategy games in general?
I've never really sat down to play one properly. I have Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on the GameCube, which I've only really played for about half an hour. I do plan on going back to actually try and play it properly someday. It's trying to find the time to do it, you know.
Yeah, the big meaty efforts.
But I played a few missions on Advance Wars Dual Strike as well, a game which I don't actually own anymore, but I could never really get into that either, so it's probably not really a genre for me. But like you said with the Banner Saga, like, you'd rather play Fire Emblem because all these sort of things are better. I kind of find myself like that with a lot of like indie titles and stuff. It's like people will bring up like Fast Racing Neo, for instance, saying, it's great, it's like F-Zero, ever. It's like, I'd rather just play F-Zero, you know.
I want a new F-Zero here. Yeah, same here.
It's like, do I download this and play like a new racing game, or do I just like, I haven't played GX in a while, I could just go back and play it.
Yeah, and some of these indie developers as well, they want to make a kind of nostalgic game, but that means using antiquated systems which need to move on, to be honest.
Well, it's disappointing to hear your thoughts anyway.
If only, you know, it's one of those games that is if only, because if the tactical strategy was just a little bit better, I would have picked up 2 as well. Anyway. And I'd be recommending it to high heaven for its story, but there we go. So that's what we've been playing. And now we're going to throw you over to Greg for the listeners' questions.
So this week's listener question, the first one's actually going to be just a question I'm going to give you from myself. Do you really not like jam?
Strawberry jam. When I was a kid, I'll go back now, history. When I was a kid, I didn't like jam. I was a marmalade guy. Orange marmalade. Don't care if it had bits or whatever. You know, the pulp and orange juice question from Splatoon 2. Put pulp in marmalade, that's fine. Jam I wasn't such a lover of, but now, yeah, I'll have jam.
Interesting. That's been the question on everybody's lips since last week. Anyway.
The jam ambassador, yeah.
Our main question comes from John Armstrong in Madrid. And he says, with the success of the NES and SNES Mini, would you like to see a Nintendo 64 version, and what games would you like to be on it? So we've actually took that question and we've kind of turned it into a wee game for me and Lee to play against each other.
Bring it on.
And we'll probably just have to go through the rules here quickly. We've both compiled a list of 15 Nintendo 64 games that we would like to see on a potential N64 Mini. I think we've actually both taken slightly different routes on it, because I sort of went with the sort of realistic approach. So like things like rare games, like your banjos and stuff, that I don't think would be on it. I haven't included them on my list, even though they'd be like high up on my list of desires for an N64 Mini. Whereas I think, Lee, you've maybe...
I've done the opposite.
You went with a bit of a dream scenario.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our lists might differ a little further than maybe I had originally anticipated. But, so, yeah, we've both got our list of 15 games. But the way we've split those games up is we've got the 15 games listed from 1 to 15 in order. I don't know what Lee's list is. He doesn't know what mine is. And we've given each game a ranking from 1 to 15. So the game in slot 1 may have a ranking of, like, say, 10 points, whereas Lee's might have, like, 9 points or whatever. So basically what we're going to do is go down through the list, the games in each slot, like slot 1. Whatever game has the highest rank out of mine and Lee's selections will be put into our final N64 Mini list. And the winner of that round will get a point, and whoever has the most points at the end will be the winner. A few wee things just to mention on that. If both people choose the same game in a round, the player who gave it the biggest ranking will win the point, and the game will obviously go into the final list. If the games that we've selected are different but the ranking is the same, the winning game will be decided by the result of the next round. If a game selected by either me or Lee is in the final list, the other player's entry will automatically be selected and they will get a point.
Yay.
If both of us select a game already included, nobody will get a point for that round. And if both of us, in the unlikely scenario where we both select the same game and the same score, the game will absolutely go in and both of us will receive a point. So the one other thing is...
Oh, the one other thing is no wave race, yes? Banned.
I don't remember seeing that in the rules. So, like, we've got our rankings for each game from 1 to 15. The game that we have given 15 points to is Immune. And basically, immune from what exactly? Well, at the end of this game where we have our final selection of games, the person who won the most rounds will be able to take away one of the other person's selections for the N64 Mini and put in one of their own games that didn't win, basically. So we've got that to look forward to, but you can't take away the game that had received 15 points from the other player. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm sure it will as we play through here. So Lee, are you wanting to give your first game here? Don't give us the rating. We'll mention our games first, and then we'll say what scores we gave them.
Okay, so round 1, I have Pilot Wings 64. Great game.
A worthy selection.
Made the Pilot Wings into, the 3D environments and all that. Wow, it just turned the SNES game up on its head. Brilliant stuff.
I absolutely loved it myself. I'm starting out with quite a strong one myself. I've gone for Super Mario 64 straight out of the gate. Absolutely has to be on the N64 Mini. You can't really argue about that there. Probably some would consider it still the greatest 3D platformer of all time, and in some ways it's kind of hard to argue there as well.
Yep, it's up there for me.
So what score have you gave Pilot Wings 64?
I think it's bye-bye Pilot Wings 64. I gave my Pilot Wings 64 a ranking of 6.
Ooh, starting off quite reserved. I'm starting with a bang here. I've gone 13.
Ooh.
Super Mario 64.
So our first game is Super Mario 64.
Yep, Super Mario 64.
And that's 1 to Greg.
We may see you again later, Pilot Wings.
That's good to hear.
Just before we carry on, do you have any real strategy here for this going forward?
Oh, strategy about how I ranked my games?
Yeah.
Yes, there was a little bit of strategy thinking. Maybe if it was like a top 10 or a top 15, this game would have got a lot higher. But taking into consideration maybe what Greg would do, I put this game lower and this game higher. So there was a bit of tactical strategy in ranking the games. Strategy in putting them in order from 1 to 15 in the rounds, none. It was kind of like a random, close my eyes, oh, is that one next. So I've really randomized my selection. And you, Greg?
It would probably have been slightly different if we'd both sort of went with the same sort of rule set of this has to be as realistic as possible. But I've kind of tried to go for games at the start that I think will be in your list eventually. So whenever you do get round to them, they're already on the list. So you're going to lose those rounds. So that's kind of where I went for. But I guess we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, we'll have to. Mine are all mixed up everywhere. Good.
Yeah, so I'll start this round then. My second game is another one that absolutely 100% has to be on the list.
Uh-oh.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Right, my second round is Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. Did that make it on your list? Oh, don't tell me.
I guess we'll have to find out. I have played Turok 2 a wee bit. I don't actually have it anymore. It's one of those games I never finished it. I thought the levels were kind of too big.
They were massive, and it still had the problems of the fog coming down from Mount Turok. With the expansion pack that came with the N64, they made you have a choice of, you can run it faster, so you get a better frame rate, or you can up-res the game, and it looked really good with the up-res. I just wished there was an option to push the fog back a bit further, so we could just expand. I don't care about the res, just let me see further. Other than those kind of niggles, it was a great, shooting dinosaurs, and then it had the ultimate weapon of all called the cerebral bow, which you locked onto an enemy, shot it, and it homed in like a homing missile, locked onto their head, and then drilled a hole with a huge spurt of red blood and entrails squirting out of their cranial cavity, and obviously killing them. Oh, great stuff as a kid, that was.
And not something you're probably used to on Nintendo consoles, really.
Exactly.
Now that's the sort of weapon that probably deserves to be on the N64 Mini. But what rating did you give it?
I give it a rating of 5.
Ooh, you're saving the big guns here, it seems. Well, I went relatively strong out of the gate with Super Mario 64 and 13. I've gave Ocarina of Time 14. So that's currently 2-0 to me.
Well done, Greg.
So list so far: Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. So I imagine those games are probably the top of a lot of people's best N64 games lists.
I'll save mine for later.
No surprise to see them on there. What's your third game then, Lee?
It's World Driver Championship. It was like the kind of Gran Turismo of the N64. Fantastic tracks. I can still close my eyes and drive around Zurich and go under the windmills in Amsterdam. It was absolutely brilliant, pushing the edge of Arcade Racer, but also grounding it in reality. Great little racer. And then going through this list, it made me realise what fantastic racers and a breadth of choice we had on the N64 compared to what we actually have on the Switch now.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, like my list is very racing centric here. Like there's a lot, like it's a nice variety obviously, but like quite a lot of racing games on here. You've surprised me a wee bit with that choice. Did you ever beat World Driver Championship?
No, see, my old man's memory has got me again. I believe I played it so much I must have. Yes.
I quite enjoy the game as well. It can be quite unforgiving if you make a mistake in one of the races. But I remember, I'm not sure what way it's branched off. There's like GT1 and GT2 or something. I remember getting to the end of like the list of like trophies to go for.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, I finally beat the game, and it unlocks this whole big harder championship. And so I've never completely finished it, but it's a good racing game. Just very, very difficult.
Yeah, it was Gran Turismo beater for its day, you know. It was really good. What was yours? We haven't done yours. We're just about to tell my score.
You've definitely thrown me off a wee bit here, because my next game is Mario Kart 64.
Oh, right.
Which is another one which probably has to be on this list somewhere. You can't imagine that an N64 Mini without it.
Can't you?
But we might have to, the way it's going here, because at this point I was sort of expecting you to maybe throw out a game that maybe throw out a Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time, in which case I would maybe get the point, but I've only gave Mario Kart 64 1 point. 1 point?
Oh, yeah. I gave, just because of the memories and how much time I put into World Driver Championship, I've given it 14.
14. Ooh, almost a slight waste of your 14, you might say.
It is, if you were only giving Mario Kart, was it 1 point?
1 point, yeah. That was part of the strategy. Like, I want Mario Kart on there, but I was trying to be strategic. But there we go, goodbye Mario Kart.
And in its place, World Driver Championship.
Who would have thought? So that's you off the mark then.
Hey.
And we're on to the next round of games. Mine's another racing game, and we actually mentioned it a wee bit earlier in the podcast. Excitebike 64. Obviously quite a deviation from the earlier games in the series, because this one's like a fully 3D game, and there's some great courses and stuff on it. I love the way it plays. Absolutely great game. I think it came out quite late in the N64's life.
It did. And it was a game I played at my brother's, I believe. Could have been my friend's. And I've never owned. But what I've played of it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like the handling can be quite tricky at times, especially as we tight turns and things. But it's a great game. I definitely recommend it, and I kind of hope we see a sequel at some point. But anyway, what's your game in slot 4?
We've really made this slot 4 very interesting. 2 Nintendo published races. F-Zero X.
Oh.
Excitebike 64 versus F-Zero X. Now, F-Zero X, obviously, you did a challenge the other day for it as well. Just love the speed of it. You know, I used to choose the smallest, lightest ship, which could go the fastest. And there are certain tracks where you're racing in a straight line, basically. I can't even remember the name of the track. You're racing in a straight line, but you're racing on the outside of a circle, the outside of a sphere, and you could go so fast in the ship that it would take off and leave the course, and you'd crash off. You had to know the kind of bumps of the track not for that to happen. Love that game. What's your score?
Great game. That's a good battle here, and I know how much you kind of like F-Zero X, so I'm almost terrified about how high of a rating you've actually gave it here. This is going to be very interesting. What did you give F-Zero X?
I gave it a 12.
Oh, a 12, that is a high one. Time to break some hearts. Now, Excitebike 64, it isn't my favourite N64 game, but I really want to see it on there. I've gave Excitebike 64 my 15.
Oh, wow, that was tactical.
Yeah. So Excitebike 64 is locked in.
Nice
That's
one,
definitely
Greg.
going to be on. So F-Zero, goodbye F-Zero.
I'm going to cry.
Which is disgusting to say, but yeah, so it's currently 3-1 to me, but I've used my scores of 13, 14 and 15 already.
Yeah, and I've only had my 14. But I have it at 12.
So it's an early lead, but changed quite easily. What's your fifth game?
My fifth game is a strange one in that you'd never see it on
They've
the
all been
N64.
quite strange so far.
It's... Oh, I forgot who made it now. I wrote it down. It's made by Omega Force and published by Koei before they became Koei Tecmo. It's a tactical stealth game which revolutionized at the time the cover system, and games like Metal Gear Solid 2 actually copied the cover system from them and the laser-sighted targeting system in there from Metal Gear Solid 2 onwards. So this kind of was such a revolutionary game in a time. Now, you look back at it now and think, oh, what does that look like? There's fog everywhere. But the actual mechanics of play, I had so much fun with. Do you know the name of it, Greg?
I know where you're going because I actually had this game. Whenever you first started your description, I was like, oh, what on earth is he talking about here? And then Operation Winback, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Winback. Yeah. That's my fifth round entry. What's yours?
That is a strange choice there. I actually had Winback at one point, and I must have been just going through a phase where like I only wanted to play like the best games or whatever. And it's like anything else was like maybe just I don't really need this. Like I've got better games to play, so I actually got rid of it, and I kind of regret it a wee bit because I've had a few occasions recently where I want to play it again. My choice is F-Zero X.
Ooh.
So it's back. You've got a second chance, F-Zero.
So, but it all obviously comes down to our points, and my win back, I ranked at 7 points.
7. Another relatively low one for you there, Lee. I have gone, and you might not be too disappointed to know, I've went with 11 points for F-Zero X.
Not too disappointed. You know, it's got to have F-Zero on there. And if I have to say goodbye to one of my games, win back would be at the bottom of my list. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one, Greg.
Cheers. So that's another...
What was that? What do you have? 11? You had 11 points for that, did you?
Yeah. I think I'm going to be going through a few barring rounds here.
Yeah, what's that? You got 1, 2, 3. You got 4-1 against me at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, round 6.
No, I don't think I'm going to win with this one, although I can only assume you have it somewhere on your list as well. Super Smash Brothers, the original one.
Okay.
Never been the biggest Smash Brothers fan. Like I do love like all the characters coming together and all the Nintendo history that has came throughout the rest of the series. It's a huge celebration. But never been that good at fighting games or anything. I've probably never really played Super Smash Bros. On the N64 as much as a lot of my other games. But like if you're talking about an N64 Mini, again, has to be on there.
It's got to be on there, yeah. And I tell you what I used. I loved how, because it was the first one, each character was actually a little toy, and then where the master hand comes from is that it's, you know, just like us picking the toy up and fighting with them as if you would an action figure. I wish they'd do a bit more of that in the more recent Smash Brothers, just for, you know, a nice nostalgic trip.
Yeah, because obviously Master Hand's still there, but I've kind of gone away from that sort of concept, I guess. But what's your game?
So my 6th round was Star Wars Rogue Squadron, the flight simulator X-Wing shooter blaster, and obviously it was eclipsed on the GameCube when Rogue Squadron 2 came out, Rogue Leader. But still, Rogue Squadron, the first one on the N64, was a masterclass of aerial assault when it came out. Brilliant stuff.
Interesting. You've went with a really strange selection of games here. Like you've honestly surprised me here.
I told you.
Because when I was doing my list, I thought every game that I was going through my list, I thought, that pretty much has to be on the N64 Mini. It's like my list feels really, really safe, and you've gone completely in a different direction, and I respect that. Like I was saying earlier about the whole comic book things, about how you get like tarred with the nerd brush. You like I've never been into Star Wars either, so I haven't really played Rogue Squadron. But what's your rating for it?
It was a high one. It was 13.
Ooh, okay. Well, obviously that I can't compete with that because my higher scores have all gone. I gave Super Smash Bros. A 2.
Oh,
because once again I was expecting you to throw out one that I'd already managed to get on the list early on.
Okay, no chance, eh? Hey.
Ooh, interesting. Goodbye Smash Brothers. Hello Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Okay, so what's your 7th game?
Star Wars again. This time I've gone back to my racing roots, realizing there's so many good racers. I chose Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. It was
the pod racer one, isn't it?
Yeah, the pod racer one. Once again, obviously it's lost in the history annals of time, but it was a very, very quick-paced, accurate motion moving racer. Very, very challenging. You had to tip your pod racer to get through narrow gaps. And the original track on Tatooine mimicked the one in the TV, at least the extended version of the track in the game. And they went all over, nods to the Star Wars universe everywhere. Great racer. What about yours, Greg?
My choice is Paper Mario.
Oh, good one.
Not actually a game I've finished yet. I've got it on the Wii Virtual Console. I got quite far through it, but I never quite finished it. It'd be nice to have a wee RPG on the Mini, because there aren't really that many on the N64 generally. It's obviously like Final Fantasy and stuff's on the PlayStation.
I never played this game either. That's one of my N64 moments of shame. So if it was on an N64 Mini, I'd love it. So
yeah, well, obviously the 1,000-Year Door's amazing. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get it on here because my rating I've given it a 3.
Well, you may be happy to work out that my Star Wars Episode 1 Racer has got a rating of 1.
Wow, okay.
It was my lowest.
That is a surprise. I'm quite happy with that one. So, yeah, almost at the halfway point. It's currently 5-2 in my favour.
I can't believe I lost it. A 3. What a time to pull out a 1.
Yeah, that feels pretty satisfying, that one.
No problem crying over spilt milk.
Absolutely delighted to see your list, though, because it's just so different from mine. I'm just really enjoying it. But anyway, my 8th game is Lylat Wars, a game that they've tried to sort of remake, basically, again and again, when they sort of really perfected it kind of the first time.
Yeah, mid. Well, don't you think the 3D version on the 3DS was made a little bit better?
Well, yeah, well, what I was really meaning was like when they made like Star Fox Zero, for example, it's just using the same story. But yeah, Star Wars 64 3D is fantastic and probably one of the best 3DS games, to be honest.
So my number 8 is Mario Kart 64.
Ooh, a chance for it to come back on again. Okay.
I don't think so, because I've given Mario Kart 64 thinking you would have ranked it higher. Oh, we both made the same mistake. I've ranked mine at 2.
Oh my. So, delighted to have another victor here, because I've given Lylat Wars 10.
Oh.
But I can't believe Mario Kart 64 is not going to be on the Mini. Well,
can you imagine?
Well, not yet. We'll see how it goes at the very end. So 6-2. You're running out of games here, Lee.
I know. It feels like I'm running out of high pointers, but I'm not. Okay.
You've still got your 15 to come. My 9th game here is Wave Race 64.
That was the one that was banned, yeah? Well, my 9th game is your 8th game, and I wrote down Star Fox 64 because I've gone all American. It should be Lylat Wars, yes. That's my 9th game, Lylat Wars.
Right. So obviously you can't win this round because the game's already in.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping you've used a high ranking for this one, just to
Okay.
waste it.
My ranking was 4.
Ooh, okay. My ranking for Wave Race was 9.
Oh, so I did a good job there. Wave Race 64
Yeah.
is in. Darren Bolton is cheering his little heart out.
I don't know. Now where we're at is I've got 7 points already, and you've got 2. So if I win one more point from the rest of this,
Oh my god.
I will have won the game basically. Game 10 for me is Pilot Wings, which obviously was your first choice.
Yeah. Anything to add about it?
Not really. Great game. I kind of would love to play it again. It never came out in any of the virtual consoles, so
The 3DS version was quite nice, you know. Pilot Wings Resort. It was a
yeah, that was the first game I actually got from a 3DS, and like I done everything, got all the perfect scores. Yeah, still one of my favorite 3DS games. Absolutely
brilliant
adored
stuff.
it.
And it really sold that 3D as well. The depth of field in that game is amazing.
Yeah.
My number 10 is Majora's Mask. Legend of Zelda.
Are you a big fan of Majora's Mask?
It's waning over time, and when I went to play it again when I actually played it first on the N64, loved it. When I went back to play it on the 3D with its remake, yes, it looked better and all that, but some of the elements of retreading, going back again, I'm thinking, I just don't have enough time to finish this boss. I got to go all the way and do that dungeon again. It's slightly annoying. I think it's one of those things when you get less time to play games, you don't want to be retreading things.
Yeah, I kind of find that as well. Like, I never had it on the Nintendo 64, but I got it with a special collector's edition that I got off the Nintendo VIP shop that time with my points.
Is that for the GameCube?
For the GameCube, yeah. I tried to play it on there for a bit. I think there was a few issues with like sound and like there's a few wee bugs in it, but never really got that far in it. So actually downloaded it on the Wii Virtual Console as well. Once again, never really got that far into it. So eventually I did beat it on the 3DS. But like I sort of have the same issues with it as you, of the retreading and like struggling with the time aspect. It was frustrating at times. Just never really loved it as much as Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, same here. It's some of the little side quests as well. You know, you have to be in a particular place at a particular time, and you just miss it, and you got to do the whole thing again. Yeah.
Yeah. So like out of these two games, I absolutely hope Pilot Wings gets on here. But what's your ranking for Majora's Mask?
I think you're going to win the whole thing, Bear. It was 3. I ranked Majora's Mask at a massive 3.
I've give Pilot Wings 8.
Ooh.
So I'm kind of running out of decent scores here, but I don't need them anymore. So yeah, there we go. Pilot Wings is on the list. Commiserations.
What can you say?
So yeah, we'll finish the list off here. What's your game in spot 11?
It is, and it's one of these ones that would be obviously in licensing hell. It's GoldenEye 007.
Yeah, if we're talking about a list of greatest N64 games, it's gonna be on there. But like, it's obviously not gonna be on my list because I've taken that into account, and I wouldn't imagine it would be on an N64 Mini. My choice is Mario Tennis.
Oh yeah. That anyway. Okay, good choice.
So what's your ranking for GoldenEye?
Well, the amount of hours I put in, I would love to have had how many hours it tells you what you've been playing a game for. The amount of hours I put into GoldenEye. So it is a high ranking, but maybe not as high as it should be. I give it a 10.
10. Well, 10 is more than sufficient because I've given Mario Tennis a 4.
Okay.
So, I mean, ultimately, if there is an N64 Mini, Mario Tennis is going to be on it anyway, but it's not on our N64 Mini because we're going with GoldenEye.
Yeah. 100 more hours.
Yeah, another point on the board for you.
Imagine that online as well. Come on, N64 Mini online, GoldenEye. Lovely.
So
okay, number 12.
Number 12 is Mario Golf, another Mario sports game, and another great one.
It is. The golf I put quite some time into.
Uh-huh.
On my number 12, I've gone for Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Ooh, another rare classic.
Yeah, which is very unlikely to get there, but the humour quite filthy in places. The kind of
Yeah, going by your like worms names and things, like I imagine it's right up your street. The humour in this here,
just a little. Yeah, and the context-sensitive platforming, which at the time was rather new, quite wonderful. The one that sticks out in my mind is the two little fire imps, and having Conker have to drink copious amounts of lager and then urinate on them to keep them away from him because his fur would catch fire. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, as a great game, I actually played it through again recently. It was a couple of years ago. Still had a great time with it. In terms of N64 platformers, I have obviously Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie are right at the top for me, and then I probably put Conker's Bad Fur Day as the next one.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely love it. But what's your ranking for it?
I ranked it as an 8.
Solid. That beats out my Mario Golf with a 5.
Conker's Bad Fur Day, bye-bye Mario Golf.
So yeah, once again, another game I'm gutted it's not on there, but Conker's Bad Fur Day is great.
It's a worthy inclusion, that's for sure.
It really is. So 3 games left to go. My number 13 is Mario Party.
My number 13 was Super Mario 64, which, as you won the first round with Super Mario 64, is not going to make it in.
It's not.
Was that the first Mario Party? Yeah,
that's the first one. Yeah, I've actually never played the second one.
Me neither.
People think the second one's probably the best one, so I don't know. I've went with what I know. So Mario Party, it is a good game. I'm not even sure if it is in my top 15 N64 games, but it's one of them N64 mini perfect wee party game for everybody to play. So that automatically gets on there as our 13th game.
Good. What about points? Oh, I actually ranked Super Mario 64 as 11th. 11 points.
Yeah, so I gave Mario Party a 6, so you would have won otherwise. My strategy seems to have worked beautifully. So 2 games left. What's your 14th game?
Another strange one, Greg. I don't think you would have seen this coming, but it's I'll describe what it is and see if you can name it. It's a DMA developed game. Now DMA went on to make GTA games.
Body Harvest.
Oh, that is correct. Well done. Yeah, Body Harvest. It was nothing in the open world kind of scheme of what you see open world nowadays, but it was an open world, a lot of fog again because of the N64's capabilities, but you could jump in cars and drive around, and you were basically a kind of marine in an orange hazard suit by the looks of it, who was taking down a threat of alien insects bursting out of the ground and all that. So much fun playing this back in the day. So much fun.
I do actually have it. I remember playing it for a few hours. I think there was a mission I was on where I kept failing on it and I was losing quite a lot of progress. There must have been quite a distance between the save points or something. I just got so frustrated by not being able to beat it that I just never really went back to it because I didn't think the gameplay was that amazing that I really wanted to play it any further anyway. But that was just my excuse really to call it a day.
And you disembody Harvest, which have you said yours?
I haven't. Mine's a game that I didn't play until the Virtual Console on the Wii, and because it was never actually released over here. It's Sin and Punishment. A great wee on-rail shooter.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
And actually probably
Treasure developed, isn't it?
Yeah, like probably one of my favourite. Like it's kind of similar to Lilac Wars in some ways, and I absolutely love it for that. And I've give it 12 points.
Oh, you've beaten my Body Harvest, which had 9.
There's no harm in that whatsoever. So that makes
Sin and Punishment definitely a worthy accessory to the N64 Mini. Great game. I love the sequel as well. That was good.
Yeah, I really liked it too. So it's currently 10-4. You're getting a bit of a beating here, but I have noticed you haven't used your 15 yet.
Yeah. And what do you think is my, and this was completely random, that my 15 pointer came in 15th place in the 15th order. What do you think it is?
If I was taking a guess, I haven't heard you say Ocarina of Time yet.
It is very much that game, yes.
Yeah.
Genre defining, completely made me as a gamer, from a little dip in playing games that I talked about a couple of weeks back. Ocarina of Time was just this scintillating adventure never done before by anybody. Yeah, that is my superb. 15 points. So what have you got?
We mentioned earlier when Wave Race got onto it, we said about how much Darren would be delighted about that. He's not going to be so happy with this one. In my 15th spot, I went with 1080 snowboarding.
Hey, that nearly made my list as another racer, but I pushed it out for, I think it was the Star Wars Episode 1.
Now, I can look back and say, like, I had great times with it. It probably hasn't aged maybe as well as a lot of these other titles have, but I still enjoy going back to it just to have a few wee races in it, or to do like the wee contest mode.
How does it rank with, did you play the GameCube one as well, the 1080 Avalanche? I prefer the N64 version, just like the F-Zero games as well. I prefer the N64 F-Zero X.
Back at the time, like after I played the GameCube one for a while and stuff, I probably did still prefer the N64 one. I'm not sure anymore. I think they're probably in a sort of level footing for me. I prefer the tricks in the GameCube one. Like, they're much easier to pull off.
Yeah. The N64 one was more of a sim rather than a kind of arcade action thing.
Yeah. One thing I always struggled with in the N64 version was like landing. Like, whenever you go on the big air mech level and you do your tricks, and the amount of times I fell at the landing was just shocking. Much easier to land in the GameCube version. But anyway.
Yeah, so Ocarina of Time, obviously already in our list as well, so that gets booted, and 1080's on you.
Yay. So you've had a wee bit of bad luck throughout. Finished 11-4.
So what you're telling me is that your tactics far outweigh random chance.
Pretty much, yeah. So going through our list here, our N64 Mini is Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, World Driver Championship, which is possibly a slight oddity in here, but well worth it.
It's just too good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different from everything else that's on here. Excitebike 64, F-Zero X, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Paper Mario, Lilac Wars, Wave Race 64, Pilot Wings 64, GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Mario Party, Sin and Punishment, and 1080 Snowboarding. So that's a decent wee list.
Would you buy it?
Yeah, probably. Depends on the price. But now the fun part, where I get to remove one of your games, one of your four games, and
so we're looking at World Driver Championship, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, GoldenEye, you can't get rid of that surely, or Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Looking at the games that missed out for me: Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Bros., Mario Tennis, and Mario Golf. That's a really difficult one. To be honest, there's probably enough racing games on here that I can maybe eliminate Mario Kart 64.
And it hasn't held up as well as it should have.
Yeah, I still love it. It's probably my favourite battle mode still. There's no other fighting games on here, but as not the biggest fighting game fan, I think I'll eliminate Super Smash Bros. As well. So it basically comes down to Mario Tennis and Mario Golf, and I can't decide. So as a favourite, I'll let you pick between Mario Tennis and Mario Golf, and then I'll choose which game we're replacing.
I've played them both, and I did have much more immeasurably fun times with golf.
Well, I can't really argue there. I had a great time as well, even going after all the birdie badges and stuff. So Mario Golf is going to make it onto our final list, and it's going to have to be at the expense of Star Wars Rogue Squadron, because I'm not really into Star Wars.
But by factor 5. And a very unlikely game to appear on an N64 Mini anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for doing that there. One other thing we had, we didn't mention this at the start. We're gonna each have just a bonus game that we can add on, maybe something a wee bit different from the games that we already selected. So we have one more selection each here just to round off the list.
Yeah, because where was it? The SNES had 20 plus 1, so we're doing the 15 plus 2.
Yeah.
And mine is, and it's for basically, it's another racing game. As you can tell, I quite like races. It's a game that I went out and purchased a rather expensive steering wheel with foot pedals just to play it. And the amount of time I put in on it is, well, it's nobody's business. The game was made by Paradigm Entertainment. It came out on other platforms as well. And on the N64, the frame rate wasn't that solid, but the game played really well. It looked fantastic at the time. It's F1 World Grand Prix.
Very good. I might have known you'd have F1 on there somewhere.
Surprise.
It's a really good game, so it's really good.
Because the second one came out as well, and I was still too busy playing the first one to even contemplate picking up the second one. That's how much I played it. Yeah,
because you had all those wee challenges and things as well. Like it had like real world events that happened.
Yeah, that like 1997, you had to beat Jacques Villeneuve in some race, and real life events, real life challenges, and even smaller challenges that weren't based on real life, and the whole season trajectory, and you could do a full race. That was unspoken of back then. Great stuff.
Yeah, it's actually the only F1 game I own, so yeah, it must be decent. And my wee bonus section here, I have a list of games because I wasn't sure if some of them would already have made it onto the list here. It's really difficult to choose because there's games I really want on there. There's like Top Gear Rally, which is another great racing game.
Yeah.
Love the way you could like paint the cars whatever way you want it and stuff. There's no football games on here, so like ISS 64.
Oh, that was great.
Ridge Racer 64 is great.
Didn't play that one.
Yoshi's Story's not a great platformer, but there's no other 2D platformers on there, so you could argue that could be on there. And I'm sort of torn here with my other games here, because with Mario Kart 64 being out, and
a 2D platformer that nearly made it on my list was Mischief Makers. That was another great one.
Yeah, it's a really good game too. With Mario Kart 64 being out, I kind of almost want to put Diddy Kong Racing on here because it's a fantastic game as well. And the other game that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Did you ever play that one?
No, not on the N64. I played a couple of Tony Hawk's games on my mate's PS1.
Yeah, I don't think the N64 is the best place to play it on. Although I do still I really like the first one. I'm going to put Diddy Kong Racing on because obviously Mario Kart 64 didn't make it, unfortunately. And Diddy Kong Racing is a really, really good game. So yeah, Diddy Kong Racing is our final game on the N64 mini list.
Yay. 15 plus 2.
Yeah. So yeah, a few wee disappointments here and there, but so many great games in the N64. It's hard to narrow it down to just 15 or 17 or whatever we finished on. But yeah, thanks for playing that, Lee.
No problem. Can you imagine him selling it and going, no Mario Tennis, no Mario 64.
There's people in the Nintendo headquarters playing a game exactly like this to whittle it down.
Yeah, that was a good game, Greg. And that's it, Greg. We've all done. Where can people, we don't normally do this, but where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Nekunando. I'll maybe just spell that for you. NEKUNANDO. Or of course they can use the official Nintendo Review Twitter account at Nintendo_review. What about you?
And me, I'm Londragon, LON Dragon _UK on Twitter, and we also run Facebook as well, which is a lovely little Nintendo Review news channel which you can chip into and ask questions. Drop us a question at any time. Listeners' questions will be here. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Nintendo Review podcast. You can find this very podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, and YouTube. Just search for the Nintendo Review Podcast. Don't forget to give us a review and ask us a question. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where you'll find great content such as news, reviews, and streams. Of course, you'll find us at nintendoreview.co.uk. And check out our Nintendo Review Discord channel for lively discussion, meetups, and in-game voice chat. Drop by and say hello.